experiment using Coral Springs as residents.
The way that lobbyists work up in Tallahassee. They come up with this, they put kids involved in it, they fund campaigns, and they get their item passed. Today, a kid was hit by a car. A couple of years ago, there was a young boy who plays on my baseball team that was hit by a car, and he was actually drug under the car. But the two things that these have in common are that there was no speeding involved.
Why are you so upset about making sure that the kids are safer by having people slow down?
You can play this any way you want.
People are going to fight them. They're going to fight them, and they're going to win. I don't know what your problem is, Caggiano.
Let's start with a show of hands of every commissioner who receives some sort of contribution from either the speed camera vendor, Red Speed, or their attorney. I see how this vote's going because you'll never receive a $1,000 contribution from residents to create an ordinance for their benefit. That's only done for out-of-town for-profit businesses who have the money to influence your votes.
The three people that took money are all in favor of it. This is a money grab because they put schools involved and they made it the kids are in fear of their life.
Are we really prioritizing the genuine safety of our children, or merely creating a revenue stream and benefits that entitles the entities outside of our city? Imagine our school zones safer because of real traffic solutions, or simply monitored by cameras that line the pockets of external companies. Commissioners and Mayor, we urge you to prioritize the safety of Margate's children by rejecting the proposed cameras and investing in proven traffic calming measures. Let's work together to make sure that Margate school zones truly stay safe and they're not just revenue generators.
When you use ChatGPT, you got to make sure you read everything over. That was so ChatGTP.
7A is discussion and possible action regarding the ordinance for providing for speed detection systems in school zones. This is not an official reading of the ordinance, but this is simply discussion regarding the status of the ordinance.
Okay. Mayor, do you want me to introduce? So just real quick, if you guys recall, back in July of 2024, we had second reading of the ordinance providing for speed detection systems in school zones. After much conversation and debate, the commission voted to table this item for 9 months to allow time for other agencies to roll out the program so that we can, see how their experience was and provide us with some more information before we made the decision. Unfortunately, there's still somewhat limited data out there, specifically in Broward County. We do have a memo in the background of this agenda item that explains their experience, and we are aware of opposing experiences where the program has been canceled. So this is really more of a discussion from the board here as we prepare for the second reading of this ordinance that's going to come before you in April, to see if we can answer questions, try to provide additional information to help in your decision making in April. And with that, I'll turn it over and answer any questions you may have.
Sure. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I was happy to see it on the agenda. I did not call for it, even though I was a big supporter of it initially. I hope ultimately we do pass the ordinance. Passing the ordinance does not mean we're gonna install the cameras. It just would allow us to, if we wanted to in the future. I like to be prepared. If we have the ordinance in place and we notice that there is indeed success in other cities and other municipalities around the state, we can act quickly to implement them instead of starting from scratch. So to me, it's no harm, no foul in at least passing the ordinance. I didn't know this was on the agenda till last minute. I did reach out to some of the representatives for Red Speed. I know it's a tough couple of weeks with session in Tallahassee and stuff, so I know they wanted to be here to update some of the success that they've had. I know that Hollywood has reported tremendous success. Yes, there is a revenue component to it, but most importantly, speeding has been reduced drastically. 91%. Yeah, 91%.
91% decrease in speeding.
Yeah. So something I'll throw out there, I mentioned it last time, but I know with all of the discussion, it may have gotten lost in translation. I'll throw it out again. And it may not be advantageous for the company to start off with one location, but at the same time, when they're making their name known in a certain region, sometimes it's good to be able to say, hey, we're representing the city. What I would suggest is experiment using Coral Springs as residence. So what do I mean by that? Well,
Exactly what you
well,
mean by
Coral
that.
Springs High School is along, yes, we can. So Coral Springs, the dividing line is Sample Road. That's correct. Sample Road is Coral Springs, but the grass just to the south of that's Margate. So why not put one speed camera up
It's
on
gotta be-
on our property? We would be catching people coming from Coral Springs because they'd be traveling on Sample Road from west to east.
But doesn't it have to be in a school zone? What
There is
Margate's?
Coral
There
Springs
it,
High
well,
School.
then
No,
not
but can
only
we
that,
put it,
there's another
can
one
we put it in
across
a,
the street.
oh, we can put it in,
I was told, initially,
Okay.
without any, there would need to be some more research, but they believe that that can be done.
I'm all for that.
And so we get some Coral Springs people upset. Do we really care if they come in here? Mad because they were going 11 miles an hour over the speed limit?
At a minimum.
Right. And that was the other thing is, I hate red light cameras. Okay? Those were definitely a gotcha. How far through the intersection, this and this. I think I got one once. There was no one on the road. I didn't come to a complete stop. I stopped. There's the California, whatever they want to call it. It felt like a gotcha. These speed cameras, it's not, I drive through school zones every morning now because I take my daughter to school. It's 15 miles an hour. And I go the speed limit. Occasionally I'll look down and I'm going 17, 18 miles an hour. Oh my God, I got to take my foot off the gas. You're not going to get gotcha. You're not going to get a ticket for that. You have to be going 11 miles an hour over. So you have to be going 26 miles an hour in a school zone. I just don't see if someone gets upset because they get a ticket in the mail for that, but
Hopefully they won't do it again.
if down the road, and we're not making any decisions tonight, but just something to think about as more information comes in, as this comes before us in the future, if we could maybe, if it's allowed legally and if it makes sense for one of those companies to do it, maybe not again financially for them for one camera, but to say they're in another city and put it up there and see how that works. See if it gets contested in court. See, go through the process using the Coral Springs residents as the guinea pigs.
I think anything that makes
So-
our kids 90, if it follows Hollywood's example, could you imagine making our kids 91% safer?
Right.
91% safer.
Commissioner
And
Azala?
there was a kid that was hit by a car again recently.
Commissioner Azala?
Yeah, you gotta love the way that lobbyists work up in Tallahassee. They come up with this, they put kids involved in it, they fund campaigns, and they get their item passed. Am I for this? Not really. Am I for the safety? Of course. Today, a kid was hit by a car over by 31st by Coral Bay. A couple of years ago, there was a young boy, he plays on my baseball team, that was hit by a car, and he was actually drug under the car.
Same place.
But the two things that these have in common, that there was no speeding involved. So I've talked to the residents today who witnessed the incident at Coral Bay, and a lot of them have come up with that people just need to know what's going on. A lot of them don't know. They're looking at their phone for whatever. So honestly, the way, only probably way that I would even consider this is if we use the money to invest in some sort of flashing lights or something. But to me, this is a total money grab. I realize you could probably make a couple $100,000 a month easily. But is it the right thing to do? Are you really going to stop people from hitting kids? I don't know. You're going to slow them down. They're going to get tickets. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. But is this really going to help and save lives? And that's the question. The two kids that were hit, they weren't speeding. So I think we should concentrate on being safer areas in our school zone. But to do this is a total money grab. We haven't even got into the aspect of who's going to run it, how much it's going to cost. And can you imagine your son or daughter just driving your car once a week and getting a ticket once a week? It's not the person getting the ticket, it's the car getting the ticket. So there's so many things here that really don't make sense, but if you're looking to make money, go for it. But if you're looking at, making it a safer area, you're not making it 91% safer. That's a total
So if we make it 50% safer, is that not good enough number?
if you probably put flashing lights and stuff out there, you'd make it a lot more safer. You know, to think that these cameras can operate all during school hours, how many kids are actually walking out there during school hours? They should be in school. So if you're going to get a ticket for going 11 miles an hour over the speed limit, you know, is that making it safer when nobody's out there? I mean, think about it. There's so many tangibles here that just don't make sense, and it's a total money grab. And if you don't see that,
Total money grab, it's a safety item.
if it's a safety item, then
Why are
why
you
don't,
so upset about making sure that the kids are safer by having people slow down?
you can play this any way you want. yeah, but
Well, you're playing it as a money grab.
The most
as
amount of
opposed to a
accidents
safety
are
thing.
probably on I-95 with the cameras there. Makes sense, right? But you know what they do? They play on the kids, make the kids safer. So how do we do it? You know what? Let's get some lobbyists. Let's go petition this. You're up for a campaign. Here's some money. Here's some money. Pass it. It's exactly how this happened. Probably one of the worst ideas next to the red light cameras, but it's my take on it, and I think it's the honest take on it. You want it to be safer, put flashing lights. I have a whole list of stuff that they sent me today where the accident was. The people witnessed it, and the cameras are not the answer. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Simone.
Thank you. I agree with you, Commissioner Rosano, 100%.
Thank you, Jim.
I think these are for-profit companies. It's the computers, it's not the computers, it's people that put the information into the computers. There's issues with accuracy. The ticket is not issued to the driver, it's issued to the vehicle. And who's to say that speeding is the cause of a lot of these accidents? You know, people are doing everything behind the wheel today. There are so many distracted drivers. I see the women putting on their makeup, putting on their lipstick. I see people eating, doing all kinds of things that I would never even think of doing behind the wheel of a car. So I think a lot of it is not speeding, but distracted drivers. I've asked for, before, when this came up before, I've asked for more signage, and I agree. Putting on the signs that say school zone, to put the speed limit right underneath that, that says your speed 10 miles an hour, your speed 35 miles an hour. That's going to get people's attention. So those are needed also in the middle of an intersection, not just at the beginning of the school zone, but in the middle where people are coming out of shopping centers and they forget they're in the middle of a school zone. So we need signage there too, because that's actually happened to me in Coral Springs coming out of a shopping center. I was in the middle of a school zone and didn't even realize it at the time because there was no signage there. So we need signage in the middle of the school zones also, not just at the beginning. So I'm going to push for more signage, more signs that say your speed under the school zone signs, and see where we go. But I was not in favor of this 6 months ago. I'm still not in favor of it. I think it's the wrong way to go. I know Georgia has a House bill to ban the school zone cameras. I know Manatee County and Palm Bay suspended their cameras. So I don't think adding more cameras is really the answer. I think we need to do more to educate the drivers than put up these cameras. So I'm not in favor of it. And I will be voting no against even considering it.
I guess it's my turn. I'm a great believer in educating the public. How do you change behavior if they don't have a consequence? Now, I was the one who said, if I blow through a stop sign anywhere else, I'm going to get points on my license. So it's curious to me that that doesn't happen for someone who runs a school zone, because I think it should. You want to make a difference. You hit people where it hurts. Points on the license hurt. I want to compliment Mr. for having sent me a ton of stuff that I'm going to ask that is sent to the rest of you as well, because I don't know if he did or did not, or was just to me. Nod yes or no. Am I the only one who got it? No, all right, then I don't have to ask it to be sent to the rest of you. Very recent. Actually, you know what?
Was it today?
No, it was just not that long ago. You know what, we'll just find it and have it sent out to everybody anyhow, just in case everyone didn't get it, because he did an intensive study throughout the country, quite frankly, of how some of these were accepted or not. Do I think we need more signs? Absolutely. Do I think we also need a deterrent? Yes, because the truth of the matter is, the only way you get people's attention these days is if you hit them in their pocketbook. Now, if we take the money and put up the signs, that's fine, because I think the city gets $20 out of a $100 fine. But to do nothing and to say people don't cross the street doesn't make it okay, because the one thing Margate lacks are traffic lights where people can cross the street. So from the little convenience store right across from Margate Middle, there is no traffic light, and people cross in the middle of the street. From most of the residential on the south side of the street, there is no traffic light. People cross over there without anyone helping and seeing to it that they can. So I would agree with the vice mayor to set up the ability that if we ever want to do it, we can. I would approve that. To see and wait until the end. I was under the impression there were other cities in Broward that were doing it as well. So I would have liked to wait it to the end of the school year just to see. I thought they did it in Sunrise. Could be wrong.
Yes, there were some cities that went on board but haven't implemented because it's not anything wrong with the system. It's like, for instance, Plantation doesn't want to do it until all the cameras are up. Whereas the company had some up and wanted to at least get going. They said, no, they want to wait until they're all up. So there's reasons why some cities haven't fully implemented yet. I believe Coconut Creek approved them too, but they wanted to start at the first of the school year for whatever reason. You know, so there's various reasons. It seems like you're at least considering it. Just to point out too, the way the law reads, the money that would be generated from this is much more, the percentage paid out is much higher than a traditional ticket. And the monies can be used by the cities for public safety, and it's broadly written. So that could be additional police officers, community officers. It could be for the lights, for red lights, stop signs with the speed things in it. It could be for a third or fourth person on a fire engine. So it's anything public safety related that money could be used for. And if possible,
You don't have to do it.
is it okay if we explore my idea of putting one up where we'd be getting Coral Springs people as a?
We can explore it. Just on the face, I don't know if we have jurisdiction to enforce on a Coral Springs road, even though we would put it in Margate property. It's still a Coral Springs jurisdiction. I don't think we can enforce it on there, but we can find out.
I think he just wants it for informational purposes. He's not asking anybody to issue a ticket. He just wants to see how many people.
No, I'm issuing a ticket.
Oh, you are issuing a ticket? Oh,
And I was told it could be done because it's based on the school zone, not necessarily the city it's in. But,
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if
That's
there's support,
interesting.
I would do it. I would do them anywhere. But if it's something that you're on the fence about and we can do an experiment like that.
I would be curious to see that. So at this point, what then? You want me to take a poll?
Consensus for more information?
There's really nothing. This is scheduled to come back before you in April. It was really just a thought-provoking conversation here to let you know what data we do have out there. Between now and next reading, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more stats from anybody else. But yes, this will come back before
And
you.
to be clear, to make sure I'm right, is what I said earlier. In April, when this comes back, we're not picking a company.
not.
We're not voting
Correct.
to add cameras. We're just putting the ordinance, the mechanism in place that should we,
Ever want
down
to.
the road, we don't have to start from scratch. We could just implement. pick a
That is
company
correct.
and implement.
Infrastructure.
You're not taking
We're
any
not
action
voting on
tonight,
No, all
but
right.
it's up to you.
If the public has a very strong opinion about this and wants to have something to say, please come up and do so.
Okay, a couple of things. When this first came up, yes, I also suggested that we should add in flashing lights as a reminder that you're in a school zone. I think that would be very important to do. But my engineering mind does not allow me to think irrationally. So in one breath, if we call this a money grab, what you're saying in effect is that there's a speeding problem. So I can't think that way. And if it has the element of just possibly helping and saving accidents, I can't see anything against it. Maybe you get some complaints, but it's irrational to say it's a money grab and at the same time not realize that, yes, you're admitting there's a speeding problem. Now, 2 weeks ago, I wrote to all of you and I suggested that you inquire with the city to investigate rumble strips, which is also a safety element because it reminds the driver of we're in a location and there may be a speed limit. Did any of you follow up with the city manager to talk about rumble
Actually,
strips?
yes, and I
Thank
know
you.
what he had to say about them, but you're not going to be happy.
Well, I would love to debate it anytime. So anyway, thank you very much. And again, money grab, that's irrational. That means there is a speeding problem. Thank you. And I know being against it is popular and it gets claps and yeah, and all of that stuff. But the reality is that if it's a money grab, then there's a speeding problem.
Thank you. Lisa. Yes. Mike. I know that.
My opinion on this is, why are we going to spend money on cameras? Why can't we put officers in there? Why?
No money, doesn't cost us
Okay,
anything.
well, when you have days off of school, no, the school zone flashing lights are on when there is no school in session also, if you have a day off.
Shouldn't be. They shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Because they aren't down Atlantic Boulevard. They're off during.
Well, there's been times that they're on, okay? I go from here to Coral Springs every day. And let me tell you, Coral Springs on Royal Palm, when you get out there in front of Westchester Elementary by Coral Glades, they have officers, motorcycle officers going up one way and back down in front of the schools and back up and down to make sure that people are not speeding. I see it. Let me tell you, that's where I slow down more, because he can get me. And I've gotten a speeding ticket when I was in Davie for a school zone. No 11 miles over, I was 2 miles over, and they wrote me the ticket. They stood right in the street and made me pull over. I say we put more officers on our force and we do that instead, because it's gonna slow down people also, like this kid got hit. What are we waiting on? Are we gonna wait for a child to die next? We don't need it. Put officers out on our streets and protect our kids. Lights are not gonna protect our kids. You gotta calibrate them every so often. If they're not calibrated, you can fight them.
I had a question, follow up. If the company pays for the equipment, not the city, and the revenue from it can hire 5 more police officers to be dedicated
Turn your
to the
mic on,
school
please.
zones, would you be opposed to it? It'd be what you're
I
asking
want
for.
officers only.
Yes, they can pay for
Because-
officers.
You're gonna have to calibrate these cameras every so
The
often.
company will do that.
Well, yeah, okay, just like they don't do the radars either very often.
That's the police department. That's different than the government never works as good as a private sector, ever.
Commissioner Rosano, did you want to say something?
I'll wait.
Okay.
I heard Coral Bay. I rode through Coral Bay the other day. My problem with Coral Bay is there were officers out there, but there were a ton of parents crossing, jaywalking all up and down that road. Why weren't they getting tickets for that? Why aren't they educating these parents? That's why these kids are getting hit. I mean, if you have officers out there, why aren't they stopping them and saying, you can't cross here, go to Sample, go to the crossing light? As far as Margate Middle, put one of them extra little crossing things right where that little store is. There's a crossing thing right in the middle of Southgate. I don't even think it's ever used. Why can't we do one of those? as far as speeding, you're gonna have speeding no matter what. I don't know if it's a TikTok thing right now, but I think I've seen 3 flipped over cars in Margate in the last week. It's ridiculous. The speeding is not gonna stop. I don't know what we can do to stop it, but I don't think the cameras are the answer. We've had the cameras. Didn't we have the cameras on Margate Boulevard? They don't work. People are gonna fight them. They're gonna fight them and they're gonna win because it wasn't me driving my car. So you're giving me a ticket for a car I wasn't driving? But I mean, I guess that works because my car was parked over the sidewalk and you guys got my money. But why don't you try to figure out how you're gonna get a picture of the person driving the car? Because you need a front and a back if you're gonna give tickets. But that's not, it's not feasible that way. It's not fair. How is that fair? How is that fair?
That's what the statute provides for.
Okay, well, I don't think Margate needs it. I don't think Margate wants it. Here's another thing the residents don't want. Take a vote on Facebook. I don't know. Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't know what your problem is, Caggiano.
Margate resident. Let's start with a show of hands of every commissioner who received some sort of contribution from either the speed camera vendor Red Speed or their attorney Becker and Polikoff. Let's see a show of hands who received contributions.
Comments,
All right,
Mr.
next,
Crowley.
a show of hands of who has not received a contribution from Red Speed or their attorney. Okay, well, I have it right here. Commissioner Caggiano received a total of $2,500 combined between the camera vendor Red Speed and their attorney on July 5th, only 2 days after the item was tabled at the July 3rd meeting. Mayor Schwartz got the same amount, $2,500, from the same donors in September of last year. And next, we have a PAC that shares the same PO box as a commissioner's previous campaign account. To verify, all you have to do is Google search PO Box 936131, Margate, Florida 33093 to make the link. That PAC received $5,000 in contributions from Red Speed and their attorneys since September 2023. At the next commission meeting after receiving the initial contribution, that same commissioner brought up the subject to consider speed cameras in school zones.
I wanted to bring up the topic for the school zone speed cameras. I would like to be the first city in Broward. I was told by one of the representatives we still can be.
The report from Hollywood is impressive. Speed in the school zones decreased 91% since installing the cameras. However, the letter failed to mention if there were police officers present in the school zones before the cameras were installed, which our city does. The point of these cameras is to slow down drivers in school zones, right? In other words, you're saying our police presence on Atlantic Boulevard isn't good enough deterrent, and you want to replace them with cameras. Who likes to be told they're not doing a good enough job and will be replaced with an automated camera or a computer? This is what you're saying by considering this. A camera is not going to stop a vehicle before they get through the school zone. The police presence is effective in getting speeders to slow down, as drivers are stopped on the spot, and these $100 tickets are not sent out until 3 weeks later. The cameras penalize law-abiding drivers who legally display unobstructed registered license plates on vehicles, while vehicles with either no plate, intentionally covered or altered, avoid being captured by the cameras and get a free pass of speed through school zones. You'll begin to be part of the problem that law enforcement face with covered and altered license plates and can expect to see more in an attempt to hide from these speed cameras. This ordinance is motivated by greed, as many more tickets can be issued than our police can ever do. And I see how this vote's going because you'll never receive a $1,000 contribution from residents to create an ordinance for their benefit. That's only done for out-of-town for-profit businesses who have the money to influence your votes. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Rich.
Good evening, Commissioners. We're standing at a crossroads, and are we really prioritizing the genuine safety of our children or merely creating a revenue stream and benefits that entitles the entities outside of our city. Imagine our school zones safer because of real traffic solutions or simply monitored by cameras that line the pockets of external companies. The proposed red light cameras in Margate school zone present several critical problems. First, they do not effectively slow down drivers. Studies and common sense show that drivers often speed up to beat the red light, potentially increasing the risks of accidents. Our goal should be to reduce speed, not catch infractions. Second, a significant concern is the flow of revenue. The funds generated by these cameras do not stay within Margate to directly improve our infrastructure or fund safety initiatives for our residents. Instead, they're diverted to external companies, leaving our city with potential safety risks and none of the financial benefits. Third, residents are rightly concerned that these cameras are more about generating revenue than ensuring the safety of our children. This erodes the trust in our city's government to genuine safety measures. Margate deserves solutions that directly benefit our community. We should invest in increased police presence during the school hours, the installation of signs, speeding signs, feedback signs, basically anything that is going to deter speeding. We need enhanced crosswalks with flashing lights. We need clear signage. The community-led traffic safety education program is needed. The measures are proven to effectively slow down drivers and create a safer environment for our children. And the money spent on these items stay within Margate. So by investing in these solutions, we demonstrate a commitment to our residents' safety, not just generating revenue for the external entities. Numerous cities have moved away from red light cameras due to their ineffectiveness and their revenue-driven nature. Residents surveyed here in Margate show that the majority prefer visible police presence and traffic calming measures over automated cameras. I mean, we did our own studies. Safety experts consistently emphasize the importance of proactive traffic solutions rather than reactive enforcement through cameras. Commissioners and Mayor, we urge you to prioritize the safety of Margate's children by rejecting the proposed red light cameras and investing in proven traffic calming measures. Residents, contact your commissioners, please, and voice your concerns, and let's work together to make sure that Margate school zones truly stay safe and they're not just revenue generators. Thank you.
When you use ChatGPT, you got to make sure you read everything over. That was so ChatGPT. Half the stuff generated on, it's not even accurate, half that stuff that was mentioned. What I hear all the residents talking about is they want more presence, they want more traffic control. All of this costs money. And how do we put it in? With the revenue that comes from these. And they're not red light cameras.
Right, a school zone.
They're school zone speed cameras.
Excuse me.
The facts, you may not like the facts, but the facts show otherwise. I'm not.
91% slowdown, but that's not a fact.
Good evening, Margate resident. I was able to look through the background information that was given, and I am really very impressed, and I want to thank Major Stransky for all the work that he has done. He has done an incredible job in research and information, and is given he's really an investigation report that he has done. I was impressed about what Hollywood was saying, that they got a 91% reduction in speeding. Manatee County, they said they took it off because the residents were complaining about the tickets that they were receiving when the school was not in session, but they were speeding. So if they were speeding, they get a ticket. Whether it is during the school is open or not, they were speeding. Major Stransky has been in charge of this Margate, and for Margate 4, and 4 companies were contacted to do the studies. Each company conducted their own speed studies, and the results clearly showed a speeding issue on each school zone. With the representatives from the Major Stransky then get together with the representatives and has clarified a lot of information also in the background report. He has done an incredibly thorough investigation and report, and I think that for the safety of our children, we should at least try to do this program, just to check it out, to see if it works. We need to have police also present. I think it is very important to have a police present. And if the money that we get from this is going to help us put more police presence in there, I think it would help. As we all know, traffic is not going to be lighter. On the contrary, it will continue to increase. And I find that cameras will help deter speeders. Also, we know school time is also rush hour, and people are thinking of getting to work and try to speed as much as they can. They're not thinking of there's a camera there for me, or there's not a camera. They see a policeman there, and they will pay attention to that. They will pay attention to that. They will pay attention to anything that tells them that they speed, but they still are going to do it because in their mind is, I have to get to work. So I think it's important to make this decision, and I know that the reports, maybe we can wait for other cities to give us report, but we have to definitely do something with the speeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public? All right, Commissioner Rosano.
Yes, there were some great points made tonight by the residents. But I think when it comes down to it, I think we can all agree there's a speeding issue. I don't think anybody's going to debate that. And then for Hollywood to say that their speeding went down 91%, maybe the chief or Kevin Stransky could explain to me how that even happens. Do you have somebody out there calculating all these people that are speeding? Is that done by an officer? And then they come back a month later and say, now that the cameras are up, everybody slowed down? So I don't know how you would even try to figure that out. As far as the ordinance, the perception of it, I think, is bad. We don't need to have an ordinance to say that we need to do something in the future. We can always come up with that when other cities and we see what they're doing and what's going on. We can come back and do an ordinance then. Commissioner Simone did mention that Manatee County, they voted on this. They passed this. You know what? They just voted on it again to get rid of it. So you want to go by other cities? Let's wait and see. I'm still going to be against it. And to say this isn't a money grab, it's the furthest thing from the truth. It is a money grab. If it wasn't a money grab, then they would do it for speeding. They would do it for speeding, you know? I heard somebody say up here, you know, if you want to get somebody, you go for their pocketbook. This does not go for their pocketbook. This goes for the car. So if my child happens to be driving my car, you're not teaching my kid not to speed.
I think you would.
You're telling
Would
me.
you not teach your kids not to speed then if you wind up with the ticket?
Of course it will, but would I make them pay for the ticket?
You would pay that,
I would.
You would pay that $100
My
ticket?
kid-
and
Why would I
can't
pay the
believe
$100 ticket? You're
Of
talking
course, you
about.
would have them pay the ticket, and
Okay.
they would learn a lesson.
Okay, so say family comes down to visit, they borrow your car. They get a ticket. Is that helping you? Look,
They
I mean,
should
this
be
is such
embarrassed not to
the
repay you
biggest
for it.
money grab you could ever find.
I'm glad
And
you,
to put it
I'm glad
into
you
a
believe
school,
that, but
well, it's
that's.
funny, the three people that took money are all in favor of it. I'll leave it at that. I
Okay.
talked about this in the beginning. I didn't know you guys got the money, but that's the way lobbyists work. It's horrible, guys. The residents don't want it. You guys want to do it, at least wait, see how other cities go. But to put an ordinance into play so you're ready, that's bull.
Okay.
Wait and see what happens. Wait until the courts start contesting this, saying, you know what? We don't know who's driving the car. What happens if you don't pay the ticket? What's going to happen?
How many people drive your car that you don't know about? I mean, do you have that many
Nobody-
people driving your car that you don't know who they
Listen, you
who
drove
they
one.
are?
I gave you a car when you didn't have a car.
And if I got a ticket, you would have said, you
So
got to
I'm
pay
very
for it.
generous. I don't know how many people drive my car, but it's getting back to the speeding issue. Is there a problem with speeding? Yes. Put cops out there. How many speeders were actually hitting kids in the school zones in the last 2 years? Speeders. How many people were going under the speed limit and hit 2 kids in the last 2 years? 2. So it's not about speeding, guys. It's about, like Joanne said, making people aware. People are doing stuff other than driving. They're not paying attention. And that's what the problem is. You have to have them pay attention. It's a money grab. Enjoy your money.
So why even have a school zone then?
If speeding is okay in school zones.
Why even have a speeding? As
You
far
have a
as-
school zone because there's kids walking through in mass amounts
So
of
we
people.
don't want people speeding.
So do you want to get rid of the school zones too?
No, I
Then-
don't want
then what's your
people to
point?
I don't want people speeding through them.
They shouldn't speed through them. They shouldn't speed anywhere. They shouldn't speed. You know how many people got killed on 441
do.
in the past 10 years?
Right.
They do.
The facts are
So
they
why don't
do.
we be proactive and say, you know what, let's put cameras on the 441
The law
street?
doesn't allow us to.
Exactly. But they'll allow it because they put
we didn't
kids
make the
into
law.
play. They
We
put
didn't make
kids
the
into
law.
play.
As far as the
Atlantic
studies,
Boulevard has close to 50,000, all right?
Atlantic has way more than that.
But it's not for speeding. This isn't made for speeding. This is a money grab because they put schools involved and they made it, the kids are in fear of their life. You know what? We could put cops up there. Have you seen our chief come up here? Have you seen Major Stransky come up here? Are they for this? Has anybody spoke to them? All right? Don't you think they would be here at the podium? I'll leave it at that. This is a speed.
so as far
don't
as
care.
far as the studies are, the law requires a study be done. So they did studies, they know what the speeding average was, and now they know the amount of speeders that they're getting, and then they compare that to the next months and they see the reduction of the speeders. And everywhere it's gone, they always see a reduction. So the numbers are bringing speeders down.
Antonio, I don't think anybody will disagree with that comment. Nobody's going to disagree
why
that the
not put
speeding numbers are coming down. But they're supposed to protect the kids in the school zone. Is that what it's
So
doing?
when this,
I just said, in the last 2 years, 2 kids got hit by cars.
excuse me. So when this,
No, if you,
No, if you'd
the
like
mayor,
to.
the mayor had asked if there were any members of the public who wanted to speak. The mayor had asked previously, and any members of the public wanted to speak. You didn't get up. You got up when the commissioner spoke, and she was waiting until he was done to allow you to speak. So if you'd like to speak, you can go to the podium.
I'm
Yeah,
done.
don't sit down. If you have something to say, feel free. So come over here, introduce yourself, and
I'm a resident of Margate.
thank you.
I think some of the things that are interesting is you look at it from a national highway and transportation safety, distracted driving is probably one of the #1 causes. When you look at #1 causes as far as distraction, alcoholism, things like that, that cause accidents is important. But when you really look at revenue, and I was a business and corporation owner my whole life, if you're looking at $20 out of 100 that would be associated with a ticket, you could have a person with obviously an officer with a radar gun. You could nail them right there, right then and there. That gets the person. It doesn't get a car. It doesn't go, and you keep that revenue in the community. That's what's truly. And I will promise you this: when you see people getting pulled over in a school zone, somebody's there with a radar gun. I will promise you, you will slow things down. You will generate revenue for the township. Now, as this gentleman had said before over here, he was kind of scoffing at neighbors with regard to tax revenue. What Mr. Eppie was trying to promote was the fact that there's been a lot of property assessments that are improper over in Aztec, significantly so, because that's also where I live. But when you're looking at the amount of money or revenue that can be generated from that versus the tax revenue, you're talking potentially $1 million. Potentially $1 million. What could you do with $1 million? How many police could you hire? How many radar guns could you buy? How many other things could you do for the city? And I'm just asking you to consider keeping the money rather than sending it out, keeping the money here, and using things that benefit the township properly. That was my only consideration. Let's do it wisely.
where do you, honest question though, where do you see the money going out? The money would be coming in.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The money would be coming in from tickets as a result of
No, but that's the problem. You're talking a traditional revenue from a traditional ticket or from the camera ticket?
No. From a traditional ticket. Radar gun.
It's much less. The amount that the city gets from a police giving the ticket versus the camera, almost all the money goes to us for the camera.
I'm just mentioning in terms of focus, you're looking at $100 versus $20 you get.
No, I just heard it was 60, actually.
That was the number that was stated. But if you're looking at that, you can really address that significantly that way. And you know what? If you're really drawing down safety, the safety is the main thing, and if revenue is secondary. I will promise you, I've seen it 1,000 times. You're out on the highway, policeman has a radar gun. You see people stepping on the gas at that point? Absolutely not. Ask your own officers. You know, they'll tell you the truth. I'm just asking you to consider this rather than having this nonsense conversation now about this because you're keeping.
You're about to be out of time.
You're solving things. You're solving things for the children in terms of safety. The money grab, I understand where they're coming from corporate America, but I really think if your primary motivating driving factor is kids, you have to think this a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Good
No
points.
problem. If you, sure, yes, a non-resident can speak. You just give us your name and
Absolutely.
where you
Hassan,
live.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hassan Debaja from Genoptic. We're a manufacturer of photo enforcement.
Can you
You told
state
me
your,
the
can
name
you
of-
state your name and where you're from
slower.
again? So this
Sure.
Slower.
Hassan Debaja from Genoptic. We're a manufacturer of photo enforcement based here in Jupiter, Florida. I did not come here today to speak, but in light of what's going on here today and what I heard this evening, unfortunately and sadly, the money grab concept, there's a certain degree to that from our perspective. There are certain companies out there that tend to focus more on revenue than public safety. They tend to focus more on opportunities than ethics. I'm not here to tell you that Genoptic is a perfect company, but we're a publicly traded company, and I've been with them for 7 years. I have yet to see that that's how we approach deploying a solution. We genuinely care about making a difference in the community. We'd love to get a call from the city one day after deploying a photo enforcement, fast forward, I don't know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and saying, hey, there's no more speeders. Get your systems out. We look forward to that day. Unfortunately, the lobbying part of it, Genoptic has been in business for over 80 years. We're a global company. It took us almost 15 years here being in the States to convince our German corporate headquarters to allow us to do some sort of a consulting. Not even the word lobbying is allowed. So while we do, and I know I've been with them for 7 years, we are the best at what we do, and we genuinely care about what we do. But we always end up losing to the other side, who tends to focus more on, not intentionally the revenue. I'm sure they have good intentions, but the program always ends up failing at some point, and the residents have the right to have that perception at that time. And companies like us who genuinely care about doing the right thing ends up, forget losing the revenue. You know, corporate America, we can always find a way of making revenue. But we thrive more on making a difference in the community, and that's what we lose, and that's where it frustrates us. So I don't know what I said here today, and if it's helpful to you guys. But
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, and my apologies. Major Stransky. I mean, I've worked with him, phenomenal, excellent. The whole team that you guys have here have good intentions. They definitely want to make the community safer. But they're caught between whatever it is that you guys want to call it. I love
called a rock
politics,
and
but
a
at the
hard
same
place.
time, but I hate politics, so there you have it. Please.
Where in Broward County do you have your cameras set up?
Just as everybody else has been struggling with, is between the permits and so forth, we're currently have just one contract that's up north in Quincy, near Tallahassee.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But outside of Florida, we have over 4,000 systems deployed, including the city of New York, where there's 2,000 plus systems.
I can't imagine anybody can speed in New York anymore. They can barely move a car 3 inches.
Unfortunately, you'll see that. But Mayor and the rest of the commissioners, look, honestly, guys, whatever you guys make at the end, whatever decisions you make, what I heard in terms of red speed and so forth, they've been in the business here in the state of Florida. Oh, sorry.
Fairness, yeah.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for
Oh,
speaking.
one clarification, just only one thing. For out of the $60, the city will receive up to $48 out of that $60. And as far as the citation going to the car, you can contest that as a resident.
Thank you. Now, I know we have 2 people on Zoom.
I thought we'd just do Zoom for a public discussion.
We're going to, because this is a discussion of this way. Go ahead. 3 minutes. Or maybe not?
Hello, Margate resident.
Okay.
So I agree with Tommy Rosano with the fact that, you don't know who's driving the car. Personally, I don't care either way because I don't work in the hours of school zones. I kind of have my own schedule. That's neither here nor there. But you would be losing out. Some folks, if they could say, hey, I could speed through it, maybe I pay $100, maybe I don't. But if I do pay $100, and then just chalk it up as giving someone $100 tip. I mean, you're not punishing anybody when you can find them much higher, or maybe catch other things like such as narcotics, or things like that. you know I also agree with Tommy with the fact that speeding isn't necessarily as big a problem as people sitting on cell phones reading text messages or Facebook in the morning. And that's why having officers visible looking at people would actually be more effective. Um, and then also, somebody mentioned a point with the school lights. Would these cameras be in sync with the flashing lights, or would they continue to roll after the lights go off? Because I know sometimes you could be approaching a school light and then the lights stop flashing. And if you proceed to go the normal speed limit, would you still get a ticket? And then how would you be able to prove it 3 weeks later? And I would also like to commend the other public speaker who done a little investigation to see which commissioners received kickbacks, because, this does seem like it is, maybe Margate needs Doge. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you.
From Margate resident. Here's my take, and I know some people agree and disagree. I don't think it's a money grab. Everybody fails to understand that the money completely goes to public safety. And with that, you can have more officers out there. Also, residents don't realize the shortage that we have in the police department right now. And yes, it can help. It would take at least 2 officers just down Atlantic Boulevard between the 2 school zones to be able to guide the traffic and to make sure that they're all staying where they're supposed to be. So where if we had the cameras also, you have to put out a public notice about 180 days before, so people would know and they would understand that they were there. If you have to slow down for a school zone, you are paying more attention. You just are. And as far as in front of Coral Bay goes, if they did have them in that location, people wouldn't be so quick to use that as a drive-through shortcut to avoid 441 and Sample. I think the cameras are important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I had a couple,
Go ahead.
just food for thought. First of all, we're parting, as far as campaign contributions, I think it's a little misleading because everyone up here has taken contributions and then voted for stuff. It may not be this item, but you've taken contributions and voted for other things. So I don't think that that's fair to say. Number one. Number two, it's not rocket science. The very first thing I said was, hey, let's put more police on the road. When this item came up, I asked, because remember, the cameras are there at every location, every single school day. The police are not. They're not. And to be honest, I don't really see the police out here enforcing traffic, and I've talked to Kale about that. Every morning I have to drive through Margate, Coral Springs, and Coconut Creek, and I see cops on Coconut Creek and Coral Springs every morning. I don't see them here, for whatever reason. So I asked the chief, how much money would it cost? More police. It's easy. It's easy to just say, more police. Well, how much money would that actually cost to put a dedicated police officer in every school zone every single day of the year? It was several hundreds of thousands of dollars. Forgive me, I don't have the exact number in front of me. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I said, well, gee, how many tickets did our police give in school zones last year? It was embarrassingly low. Like under 25 tickets or something like that. Am I misquoting here? But it was extremely low for the year. 100 and something. It was so low that it was like, wow. we don't have the ability to put more cops out there. We don't have the funds to put the cops out there. And I do see people speed up. When they got one person pulled over, they go flying right by you. The money can be used to put more cops on the road. So, I didn't hear.
Don't.
No, I just heard something and
I know.
Got distracted.
Commissioner Zama, your light's on.
Yeah, I think the gentleman came up with a great idea. If you want to stop the aggressive people from driving on the street, put the guy up there with the camera, hold it, you'll shut everybody down. But the theory to think that we have a speeding problem, we don't have the manpower, so we're going to give people tickets that live in Margate and other cities to fund more police officers to make it safer. Just doesn't make any sense.
It could be firefighters. It could be.
But I think we all agree there is a speeding problem. We all agree. So I go by Atlantic, Margate Middle almost every day. I see cops out there pulling people over. Maybe they're just being courteous and giving them a warning, which is great. If you think they're from another city, you want to give them a ticket, whatever.
I've said that too.
But I think the safety issue, like today, there was a person leaving the plaza of Best Buy, nothing to do with speeding. They probably didn't know they were in a school zone for whatever reason, and that's what the problem is. You have to make these people aware they're in a school zone and there's children out there. So I would like to see it fixed that way first, and then we come back and see how other cities are doing. But to go about this in a full-fledged, let's get an ordinance ready to go, I'm not for it. Thank you.
All right, with that said, you want me to have to repoll, or you've heard what everybody?
It's set to come back for second reading in April.
Okay. So it'll come up April 2nd again for you to decide one way or the other. This was just supposed to be discussion and possible action. And then it'll be open up to the public as well. And with that in mind, meeting adjourned. Thank you. You didn't have to close.